Everybody, and welcome to the class. Thank you so much for connecting and for joining today. I am using Zoom at the moment, so you are welcome to join and to connect on Zoom, and the meeting ID is at the bottom with the passcode. We have one participant at the moment, and you are welcome to join. If you have a question during the class, you can participate, and if you want to practice some speaking, that is another possibility. Or maybe you just prefer to use Zoom for the class, and that's an option also. Okay, so good morning, and I hope you had a good weekend, and we're back to Monday, back to another week, and I hope you have a very good week. On Wednesday it's St. Patrick's Day, so it's a big day in Ireland on the 17th, and of course this year is very different compared to the other years, and there will be very little there will be no celebration in the city, which is a pity. So everything will probably be online, and I'm sure on Wednesday I will do something or wear something green in relation to St. Patrick's Day. So you're welcome to connect on social media. I have an Instagram account on the left. It's @miglioreinglés, and every morning I put some pictures of Dublin. So this morning you can see a nice picture of one of my favourite streets in the city, and every day I try to put some pictures and information about the class, and possibly some English related information and tips as well. YouTube channel has all the same content more or less as the Facebook channel, so again, some people prefer to use YouTube, and you are welcome to join and to connect with YouTube. Twitter is the same. It's more or less the same content on Twitter compared to Facebook, but Instagram is a little different, and you are welcome to join and to participate on Instagram. The dog, so I have my dog in the garden this morning. He's very calm, he's very relaxed, but there is a possibility, of course, you will hear my loud dog during the class, and hopefully it's not a big disruption, but that's a possibility. And the connection, fingers crossed, there's no big difficulty with the connection and the Wi-Fi and the technology and Zoom and Facebook, because we are depending on a lot of technology, and we need a lot of luck with the internet. Okay, so that's the start for today. It's a good opportunity for me to teach at the moment because of the changes, because of the pandemic. My work changed a lot since May, so finally I have some space to work online, and this is a very good project and initiative for me to reach and to know new people, and hopefully for you it's a very good opportunity. You can learn a little. I have experience of maybe 11 years working teaching English, and I have met a lot of people in that time and worked with a lot of people, and it has been brilliant. So hopefully you can learn some of the tips and advice for today. So on the right I'm going to show you the plan. So this is the agenda and the plan for today. So there is an introduction document, which in my opinion is really very important. Before March I explained every morning in my class in detail the introduction document, but after March, since March, I am going to explain less the introduction document, and I recommend that you look for the explanation in my previous videos, because it's very important. It's the foundation of the class, it's the foundation of English, and I will show a little today, but in detail I recommend that you look at the previous classes. We will continue with an article, so we have a new article today in relation to Romania and a forest in Romania. It's a comparison to Yellowstone in California. You know, Yellowstone is a famous attraction, a famous park in California, and the article today is in relation to a similar place in Romania. Okay, then we have lists of phrasal verbs and list of idioms, so that is possible today to continue little by little to explain the phrasal verbs and to explain the idioms. And of course, speaking participation is possible, and you can join, you can ask some questions, and you can participate if you have a doubt just by connecting on Zoom. Okay, I hope you can understand my English. I hope you can understand everything I say, because I understand it's difficult sometimes to understand English, and everybody has different levels from different locations, but you have subtitles and captions available on Facebook if you want to connect and if you want to try to follow my class. Today we have a separate webinar, so let me show you. Today we have a separate webinar in relation to grammar. So at 4 o'clock we have a specific webinar. I'm going to show you, hopefully I have the details here. We're on week 10 and the topic will be totally on English. Here's the perfect, I have the page here. So the topic will be totally dedicated to grammar. This is the third week of the grammar webinar. It's at 4 o'clock on Zoom. So if you are interested today to connect and to join the webinar, contact me, and it's a smaller group, but we will do some exercises specifically from well, in relation to grammar from the British Council Grammar website and the Cambridge Grammar website. So that's the focus for today. It's approximately 1 hour, and last week was very good, and the intention is to continue with the topic, and you're welcome to join. Just contact me. There's a small fee of €2.90, but that's possible for today. Okay, so perfect. That's an introduction for everything, and now I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully we have no too many difficulties with the technology. So I'll just make this a little bigger and you can see my introduction document. So as I said, this document is the introduction document, and for me this is the structure. During my classes there are 3 areas that are so important. For me, the first area in yellow is the use of English, and I focus a lot on the use of English. I focus principally during my class on the use of English, and in the use of English we have different accents. So we have different accents around the world. In Australia, very different rhythm, very different velocity of English. The same in Ireland, very different. England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and United States, we have so many different accents and different velocities when we speak English. So this is a big challenge for you. It's very difficult when everybody has different levels. And the next section are phrasal verbs. So for me, phrasal verbs are really important. We use phrasal verbs all the time, especially in informal situations. It does not matter, informal, formal, professional, social, we use phrasal verbs every moment, and they are very big. So idioms also are the same, and idioms are like expressions. So this area for me is the most important use of English, and during the class I concentrate on this. The next section are tenses. So when you speak in English, you need to be familiar with the concept of the time. You speak in the present, the past, the future, and in English we have some concepts, for example the simple, present simple, past simple, future simple. So you need to be aware. Also the present continuous, past continuous, future continuous, and then also the perfect. So we have the present perfect, the past perfect, and the future perfect. Again, in previous classes I have explained in detail the introduction, and today we will not really speak too much because it takes too much time for everybody, but you need to be very familiar with the concept of the perfect, the simple, and the continuous. Also the infinitive. So the infinitive is the base or the foundation, the conditionals, the active, and the passive. So these concepts are very important. So if you do not understand them, it is so important that you go and you learn the significance of the technical vocabulary in this list. I put this list on my Facebook page below my video every day, so you can find it there. And if you have any doubts, you need to research and you need to study, or you can ask me some questions. And the final section, briefly, I will just explain. Well, I will just introduce the names of the technical terms. For example, a noun, the difference between a noun, an article, countable, uncountable, what is an adjective, what is the comparative and the superlative, what is an adverb, modal verbs, prepositions, possessive adjective, possessive pronoun, and this area is very important in particular. So we have possessive adjective, possessive pronoun, and object pronoun, okay? And then finally demonstratives, determiners, how to create the question. A big area for me is the suffixes and prefixes, conjunctions or linkers, mitigators, intensifiers, plural nouns, specific vocabulary, writing and exam preparation. So for me, this is the introduction, and every time I have started with a new student, I show this document, and this page is the most important page at the beginning, and it's the base, it's the rock, it's the foundation of English, and every article, every conversation relates to this document. So you need to be very familiar with this document, and I think, of course, a lot of people are. So if you have attended this class, of course, you are very familiar with that document. But if you are new, so there is a possibility today we have some new people. So thank you for attending. But that document is very, very important, because during the class, I mention a lot of technical vocabulary. Nouns, adjectives, adverbs, modal verbs, phrasal verbs, idioms, prepositions, past perfect. So you need to be very clear and very sure with the different concepts. Okay, so this is the article. It's from the New York Times, and this is a park in Romania, and I think we have some people watching from Romania, so you will be very familiar, and hopefully you will be more interested in this article. So this is the park, and the name of the park is the Southern Carpathian Mountains, also known as the Transylvania Alps, in south central Romania. So the article is from the New York Times, and I want to read first for pronunciation. This is the technique. First I read for pronunciation, and then I go back to check the vocabulary and to explore the grammar. So that's the technique, and today is the same. So first I will read the introduction, and here we go. The making of a European Yellowstone. So a major conservation effort is underway in Romania. The goal is a new national park that will rival its American counterparts. Okay, already we have some important grammar issues, so I think everybody understands more or less the title. So the making of is how people make, well, the story behind. So the making of the career, the making of the celebrity means the story behind how the celebrity became famous. So in this situation, how the Yellowstone, how the park was created is the topic of the article. Okay, underway is very, very important, very fluent, and probably very difficult for you to learn because it's specific to English, and it's typical with the verb to be, underway, and the significance is has started. So the concert is underway, the construction is underway, the celebration, the party is underway, and the significance means has started. It's very common, it's very fluent, and it's very specific to English. So the conservation effort, so the work has started in Romania. So that's really, really important. And here I put my notes for the class so you can see everything. And first it's to be underway, and the significance is to have started. Really, really common, really advanced, really important, and very simple. We use it very quickly. For example, the meeting is underway. Very, very quick. Okay. The goal is like the objective, the aim. So vocabulary, the goal, the objective, the aim. Okay, the target. Will rival. So rival is the noun. You are a rival. I am a rival. He is a rival, like an enemy. But it is possible a verb. So Coca-Cola rivals Pepsi. McDonald's rivals Burger King. So yes, it is the rival, which is the noun, but it's also a verb, to rival, and that's just interesting vocabulary as well. So the verb is to rival, and I'm just going to move that to the next page. So remember that the verb is to rival, the noun is a rival, as in the person, because there is another noun, the rivalry, which is very important vocabulary as well. Rivalry is another noun. Okay, so very important family, and again you need to be very clear with the idea to separate the word, the form of the word. Is the word a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adverb? Is it an adjective? And usually the prefix and the suffix is a very important indicator in relation to that area. Okay. The next word is very important as well. Its is possession. So remember the possessive adjective. My house, your house, his house, her house. But because it's the city or it's the place, we use the possession adjective its. Okay. So it's the possession adjective. It's American. Again, it's another adjective. And counterpart is the noun. And again, counterpart is a synonym for enemy. So Manchester United play Manchester City, and Manchester City are the counterpart or the enemy or the opponent. So it's a synonym. The counterpart is your opponent. Very, very good vocabulary, very fluent and very advanced. So it's good vocabulary. Your counterpart in the noun is the significance of maybe opponent. Okay, so good vocabulary. There is a verb to counter, and that means to return. So in an argument, if you make a comment, I counter. So I respond or I reply. And in sport, you have one team attack and then the other team counter. So it is possible in the verb with a lot of different contexts. So now we continue to the first paragraph. So remember, this article is very fluent, very advanced, and a really, really good level of English. Very colourful, very creative, and very fluent. So it's really good English. So keep that in mind. So again, I read the first paragraph. It was my first visit to Romania's Southern Carpathian Mountains in 2018, and I was standing beside a derelict sheepfold high above the Dambovita Valley. To the east, the imposing limestone cliffs of Piatra Crailu, or King's Rock, towered overhead. All around me was a panorama of deep valleys, soaring mountains, and ever-present forest. Beneath, a canopy of old-growth trees, an array of animals, wolves, European brown bears, boar, eagles, lynx, were thriving. So very specific vocabulary in relation to animals. Here, among the Fagaras mountains, the highest reaches of the Southern Carpathians, and tucked away in an unlikely corner of the European Union, an immense conservation project was underway. You remember, has started, is underway, and the past was underway. The ultimate aim, so exactly a synonym for goal, objective, okay? The ultimate aim, the creation of a European Yellowstone. So remember, the first rule is possession. Okay, so the pen of Brian, but in English it's more typical Brian's pen. So this apostrophe S is classic, fundamental, and very important for possession. And we use this all the time for possession, and that's very important. So the mountains are possession of Romania. Year, we say in, the preposition in 2021, in 2022, in 1918, in 1920. So for the year, we say in. For the month, we say in January, in February, in March. But for the day, we say on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. So remember the little difference in the preposition in relation to the month, the year, and the day. Okay, I was standing. This is an example of the past continuous, because the verb is to stand. Present simple, I stand. Past simple, I stood. Irregular, we have a lot of irregular verbs in English, and that's really, really difficult. So I stood is the past, and I was standing is the past continuous. Okay, so it's related to stand, stood, and also stood, which is related to understand, understood, understood. So it's connected. Okay, so I was standing beside preposition. Sheepfold is the noun, very difficult vocabulary, and a sheepfold is the area that contains the sheep. So it's a very specific word. It's new for me, but the sheepfold is the area in relation to the location for the home for the sheep. But the verb is very important, to fold. In Espanol, doblar. So my hands, for example, I fold my arms. Okay, so you're not happy and you fold your arms. In relation to clothes, I wash the clothes, I clean the clothes, and I fold the clothes. okay? But it's more flexible because in relation to a story, well, there's lots and lots of context. Number one, in relation to a business, in relation to a company, if the company folds or the business folds, the significance means it closes, okay? So it's possible the company folded and the significance is closed because it had a problem, okay? Fold your arm is the other one, and then there's another verb that's very important as well, to unfold, and it's typically in relation to a story, okay? So if the story unfolds, the significance is the story will happen or the story will occur, okay? So the story unfolded at the weekend, everything unfolded, so it's flexible and very important. Also, we have an expression to enter the fold, has the significance to enter the area or to enter the equation or to enter the situation, okay? So if you have a relationship with 3 best friends and a new person enters the fold, the significance is the new person enters the situation, enters the dynamic. So it's interesting vocabulary and it's very, very flexible. And here it's very specific. Sheepfold is the specific name for the area for the sheep, and it's new for me. I have not seen this word much, so it's probably very, very specific, okay? Derelict is very important. Adjective. So if something is derelict, it is maybe empty, it is damaged, it is old, nobody is giving it attention. It's derelict. And a dereliction of duty is a possible structure as well. So derelict is typical for the building, and it means an empty building, an old building. But a dereliction of duty or responsibility means that you ignore or you forget your responsibility. You forget your responsibility and duty, so that's a typical context as well, okay? Imposing, so the verb is to impose, and it's typical for yourself. So if you are very quiet and you're very shy, the opposite is you need to impose yourself in work, you need to impose yourself in the meeting, and the adjective is imposing, which has the significance very big or very strong. So the building in Dublin, the spire, is very imposing. It has a big impact on everybody. It could be negative if the person is very imposing in the situation with the group. Maybe the people are not happy because they dominate. So it's a synonym for dominating, okay? Limestone is specific vocabulary for the type of stone, and a cliff is very important vocabulary. So a cliff in English, I'm going to get the translation here for other languages because it's very important. A cliff in Arabic, Bulgarian, Dutch, Chinese, French, German, Hindi, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Malay, Polish, Portuguese, Romanian, acantilado. Yes, I remember in Spanish, acantilado. So it's very important vocabulary, and it's a metaphor in English. So for example, the price has fallen off a cliff is the significance the price has dropped a lot. So of course in English you can use a lot of metaphors, and cliff is one. To fall off a cliff means to drop. The price has dropped, okay? A drop in price, and that's one possibility. And my typing is very bad. Also we have an expression, a cliffhanger. Okay, so this is important noun, and it's like a very dramatic situation. Remember the verb to hang. If you're hanging on the cliff, the meaning is it's very dangerous, it's very exciting, a lot of adrenaline. So if it's a cliffhanger, it's very emotional, very exciting, and that's typical adjective or typical noun. Typical noun in relation to movies, like a thriller, very exciting, okay? Very dramatic, really, really good vocabulary. But here it is related to the cliff, and that is in the middle. I think it was here. Yeah, imposing is the type of cliff. Towering, so of course the tower is the noun, but it is possible a verb to tower. For example, the building in Dublin, the verb, it towers above, it towers over everybody. Okay, so there is a verb to tower above and to tower over. And overhead is a good adjective. and it's logical, so it's over your head, but it's very similar to above or over. With above, we need the noun, above the river, above the lake. Over, we need the noun, over the house, over the river. But overhead is very general, and it means just above you. Okay, very, very logical and not too difficult, I think. The next word that's very important is soaring. So all around me was a panorama of deep and soaring. So deep valleys, you need to be clear the difference between the adjective and the noun. So deep is the adjective and the noun is depth. So pronunciation is very important. The depth of the river, the depth of your experience. So pronunciation is very important. The depth, and deep is the adjective, but we have a verb in English as well, to deepen, and to deepen is to make something deep, okay, or to make it deeper. So the verb is to deep, and typically the en in English is a typical suffix for a verb. For example, lighten, darken, soften, and deepen is another example of a verb. Okay, so that is very important. And again, the noun is the depth. Soaring. So the verb is to soar, and it means to go very, very high. It's typical with the bird. If the bird is soaring, the significance is flying very, very high. The price is soaring. It's going very, very high. The temperature is soaring, again increasing a lot. So the verb is to soar. It's the same the same pronunciation as sore, like painful. So sore is an adjective, and the significance is painful. So your finger is very sore, your hand is very sore. Okay, but the verb to soar is completely different, and the significance is to fly very high or to go very, very high, and it's typical with the price or the temperature. Okay, or maybe a career as well. Ever present, Forest. So ever present has very good significance of continuously. So this person is ever present. This person is always here. Somebody who is ever present, they are constantly or continuously in the same position, or they constantly attend. So we have started the classes in January, and maybe you have been ever present. So you have been here all the time. Okay, really, really good vocabulary. Beneath is excellent vocabulary. It's a little more formal than under or below, but it has the same significance. So beneath has the same significance as under or below. So under the table, beneath the table. Under my hand, beneath my hand. It's a little more formal, a little more polite, and a little more advanced. Okay. Grow is the verb. So this is a similar word, the verb to grow, and the noun is growth. Okay. So that's important, the difference between the verb and the noun. And we have a phrasal verb to grow up, which is typical in relation to children and to mature. So it's very important in relation to the context of to mature. So if you need to grow up, the significance is you need to mature. Maybe it's a little insult, so you need to be very careful with this word to grow up, phrasal verb. But in a business, it's more typical to grow, only to grow. You grow in a business, you grow your career, you grow your opportunities, you grow your contacts. But grow up really is only for children and to mature. Okay, so there is a big difference between grow in a company and grow up in a company. So it's a lot of people explain to me grow up in a company, so I want to identify that little issue. Okay, an array, very, very good vocabulary for sure. So an array has the significance of a selection. So an array of chocolates, an array of clothes, an array of choices. It's a collection or a variety. Okay, we have a few words that are very important. An array, a variety, a selection. Okay, so I'm going to put the synonyms here. And we have a range. That's another one. A range, a variety, a selection, an array. Okay, so really, really good synonyms and really, really similar significances. And here it's array, and it's also typical with the word wide. Okay, so you can say a wide array, a wide range, which means a great. Wide is like amplio in Espanol, or a wide variety, so it's a great variety. Vocabulary for the animal: bears, boar, eagles, and lynx. So this is interesting as well. A bear, a beard, okay, a beer, and there is another verb, to bear. So very interesting words, very similar in pronunciation. To bear has the significance to tolerate or to carry. Okay, so you cannot bear the weather, you cannot bear the situation. The significance is you cannot tolerate or you cannot carry. Okay, so the significance is to tolerate in here for the last word. But the previous word, a beer, is typical in the restaurant, typical in the bar, a beer. So pronunciation a little different. Cerveza in Espanol. And a beard is typical for maybe the man when they grow the hair on the face, they have a beard. Okay, so you have a mustache and you have a beard. So important pronunciation. And a bear has the same significance, to bear. Okay, but of course a bear is an oso in Espanol, like the big animal. Okay, so very, very important. And this verb is excellent, very advanced, to thrive. So to thrive has the significance to excel. So it's related to excellent. So if you are thriving, you are doing fantastic, you are in a great position, you are very happy, you are growing, everything you are learning. So if you are thriving, you are having a great time, everything is developing. It's typical when you live in a different country. For example, you live in Italy, but you are from London, but you are very happy in Italy, you have a great job, you have great friends, you have a great life, you are thriving. Okay, you're growing and you're having a great time. So here, underneath the old trees, the animals were really, really happy. They were very, very ecstatic. They were thriving. They were extremely successful and progressing and very good. Okay. The next vocabulary, among. So among is a preposition, a little formal, but it has the significance similar to with. Okay, so we have a few words that are very similar: with, among, or amongst. So amongst is a little more formal with the est, and you can say among, and it's very, very similar with. Okay, so for example, at the moment we are among friends. So it's possible to be among friends. You are with friends, in the middle of friends, and it's possible to be amongst friends. Possibly the first word is a little more formal and a little more polite, but it is very common preposition in English. Okay, the highest reaches. So here we have the article, and remember, every noun you need an article. So there's two possible articles. It could be definite article or it could be indefinite article, and here it's the definite article because it's the. And everybody recognizes the verb to reach. So you try to reach for the chocolate, reach for the bottle, and it means to obtain or to get, or also to arrive. So you will reach Dublin at 6 o'clock. You will reach Lisbon at 7 o'clock. You will arrive. It's possible in the telephone. You try to reach your friend. You try to contact your friend. But here, it's the noun. Okay, so the reach is the noun in relation to the mountain. So this is a high reach. It's flexible. It's like a point in relation to the distance or the height. And here it's the superlative. So you remember the concept of the comparative and the superlative of the adjective. So the adjective is high. This point is higher than this point, but this point is the highest point. Okay, and in this situation it's the reach, the highest reach. So this is the noun in the plural, and this is the article, the definite article, and this is the superlative. Okay, tucked away, we saw this word last month, and it's frequent in English. Okay, so the first example, the first context is your clothes. So my shirt, for example, my shirt is out, it's untidy, I need to tuck my shirt in. Okay, for example, my collar is out and I need to tuck my shirt in. Okay, that's the first significance, to tuck in. Maybe your ears as well. If my ears are out, I need to tuck in my ear. Okay, so it's this concept. It's typical with children in bed. You are the parent and you need to tuck the child into bed with the blanket. Okay, so to tuck somebody in is this action with the blanket. So it's typical to children to tuck the child into bed, and to tuck your shirt in is also the possibility. Your shirt in. And we also say in relation to food. So if you are about to start eating your food and somebody says to you, tuck in, the significance is to eat, really enjoy, tuck in. A little informal, but the significance is to enjoy and to start and to really eat a lot. Okay, so tuck in is an order. And into is just more emphasis in direction, tuck into your food. So very, very important. But in relation to location, so Dublin City, the location is tucked in from the coast. So it just means this action, this location. And here they say the mountain is tucked away, so it's in a different position. Okay, it's like hidden. So to tuck away is possible in the kitchen with the food. I have my favorite chocolate and I want to keep my chocolate to myself, so I tuck away my chocolate in the press. So it's like to hide. Okay, and the verb is hide, the past simple is hid, and the participle is hidden. Okay, so to hide, hid, and hidden. So the significance is esconder in Espanol, and tucked away is the translation really. So if something is tucked away, it's hidden. It's possible in sport. So if you are the striker and you score a goal, you have the opportunity, you tuck the ball away. So to tuck away the ball has the significance to finish or to put the ball in the net. So it's flexible, but it's very important as well. Unlikely is an adjective and it's very important. So the corner is the noun, the article is an, it's necessary an because the word begins with a vowel. That's the general rule. But we have two words in English, likely and unlikely. So it's a little false friend, I think, so be careful. So I say to you, it is likely to rain. This is a perfect example, and the significance is probable. So it is probably going to rain. It is likely to rain. So the significance is probable in Espanol, and the translation in English is probable. Okay, but the hard part is the noun. So likely is the adjective and the noun is the likelihood. It's very advanced, very fluent, but very important as well. Okay, so the likelihood of rain is very high, and the significance is the probability. Okay, very important, very common. So the probability of rain is very high, the likelihood of rain is very, very high. So really good vocabulary and really advanced English, the probability. Good. So remember, the negative is unlikely, so it's very important adjective. So it's like not probable. So in an unlikely corner of the European, so you don't expect this beautiful mountain to be here or this beautiful park to be here. Again, to be underway has the significance has started, so the project is underway. The ultimate aim has the significance, the ultimate goal and the ultimate objective, okay, is a European Yellowstone. So that is the picture of the mountain, and very interesting article. So I will post this article on the Facebook page below the video. Look at some phrasal verbs in particular. So remember, this list is a particular list of from English of phrasal verbs, and we use phrasal verbs all the time in very informal situations, in very formal situations, social situations, professional situations. We use idioms every moment and phrasal verbs every moment, every day. Basically, the concept of the phrasal verb is a verb plus a preposition, and it's possible literal significance, but it is possible a second completely different significance, and this second significance is hard to understand. And this list is a list of 20 pages of phrasal verbs, and we have thousands and thousands and thousands of phrasal verbs. They're very quick. We use phrasal verbs all the time. They're very difficult for you to catch because they are very small and they're very quick. Okay, and they change the significance very easily of a sentence. So the first verb is to leave, and it's typical with travel. So you travel from Dublin to Italy and you leave at 8 o'clock. That's number one. But it's also typical with objects like forget. So if you travel to Italy, you leave your bag, has the significance you forget your bag. Okay, the past is left, so the structure is leave, left, left, And when you include the preposition out, it's a phrasal verb to leave out, has a significance to exclude, okay, or to omit. So you can see the vocabulary here, to omit, or not include, which has the significance to exclude. Okay, so the exclude is here, and the significance is leave out. So it's typical in sport. Excuse me, I'm going to take some water. It's very typical in sport. To leave out is when you make a selection and you decide not to include one person, so you maybe leave out the person. Excuse me. So it's like to exclude. It could be negative. So if you have a group of friends and everybody is going to the party, everybody receives the invitation. Excuse me, I'm going to take some water, more water, because I need it. I don't think that will help, but let's see. So to leave out is very typical to exclude, and as I said, in social situations with friends, if you want to ignore your friend, or if you want to exclude your friend, you invite everybody, but you leave John out, or you leave Martina out, or you leave Juan out, so you forget or you omit. Okay, so very good vocabulary to omit. Also the same concept with your project. If you submit your project to school and you think you are finished, you think you have everything ready, but finally you understand and you remember that you realize that you left something out. So the significance is to forget. Okay, and here's one example. Why did your parents leave you out of their vacation plans? So the parents have the vacation plans, they organize everything, but they exclude you. They omit you. They don't include you. So they leave you out. Very, very good phrasal verb. Very common. Very important. But it is possible literal as well. For example, the dog. So at night we put the dog in the garden. So you leave the dog out in the garden. It's possible literal, but it's possible to exclude or to omit. So it's flexible and very important. And of course it's literal as well. So if you're preparing for school, so the night before you prepare your bag, you prepare your things, and you take the milk from the fridge and you leave the milk out of the fridge. So to leave something out for somebody or a different person. So it's very, very flexible, very common. The next one is very famous, very, very famous. So the verb is to let. And to let is very flexible and very frequent, has significance to permit. The big rule with let, the next verb after let is the infinitive, but it's necessary to eliminate to. So the correct structure is let you go, let me have, let you see. That's correct. The incorrect structure is let you to have, let you to see. So it's incorrect when you include to, and it's necessary to eliminate to after let. Very, very important. And we have a phrasal verb. Well, that's the first significance, to permit. Okay, so to let is to permit. But also we have another significance to let, which has the significance to rent, alquilar in Espanol. So to let your apartment, to let your house, to let your car. It's possible the significance to rent, okay, or to lease. So vocabulary similar to alquilar in Espanol. So that's the first two significances of to let. But the famous phrasal verb with the preposition is let down. Okay, of course it's literal. For example, you have the child in your arms. So you lift the child very high, and the child says, let me down, let me down. So it's like put me down or allow me to go down. So you let the child down, number one. But the second significance is like to disappoint. So your expectation is very high. So for example, you are the parent and the child has the expectation of you. So the child thinks you will come to the concert in school. The child expects, the child hopes that you come to his concert or her concert. So he or she is very excited and very happy. But finally, it's impossible for you to go to the concert. So you let the child down, and they're very disappointed. They're very, very sad. This phrasal verb is extremely common and extremely used frequently. It's typical in business. So you expect the business to deliver the product at this time. You expect the person to do the service at this time. But finally, the person cannot do the job. The person cannot deliver. So they let you down and you're disappointed. So it's extremely typical in relation to left down. And here's the example. The verb is to feel, and it's irregular. So feel is sentir, and the past is felt. So the verb is to feel, and the past is felt. Okay, and here is the example. I felt let down, so I felt disappointed when I didn't receive a birthday card from my sister. Very, very good example. But again, it's extremely frequent and extremely typical in every situation. Okay, it's possible in relation to the car in a different situation. In relation to the tire, you can let the tire down, which has the significance you reduce the air in the tire. But number one, to disappoint, is very, very frequent. Okay, and again, this is more literal. The second example, to lengthen. So length is the noun, long is the adjective, and length is the noun. And here we have the en. Remember the suffix, the en is typical a verb. So the verb to lengthen is to make something longer. Okay, and in this situation, the example is in relation to the trousers. So for example, I go to the shop, I buy some trousers, or I buy some pants, and they are too short, so they do not fit me. So I need to bring my trousers to the tailor or to the shop, and the tailor will lengthen my trousers. Okay, so that's the verb to add, or he will let down, or she will let down my trousers. So here's the example. My uncle, so remember the difference between auntie and uncle. My auntie is feminine, the sister of my father or my mother, and uncle is the brother of my father or my mother. Okay, and a tailor is the position. So the tailor is the person who makes the clothes and changes the sizes. That is a tailor. But we have the vocabulary in relation to the verb. Okay, so the tailor is the noun or the person, but we also have a verb. Okay, so to tailor is to help your needs or to meet your specific needs. So you go to the hotel and you ask the hotel to prepare something specific for your room, so they tailor the room for you. So it's very, very flexible verb, but the same significance for clothes. So the person is the tailor and they prepare the clothes, they prepare the size specifically for you. So to tailor is the specific verb. And here, my uncle is a tailor, so as a consequence, as a result, he can, remember can is the modal verb, and can is related to ability. I can play the piano, I can run a marathon, it's my ability, and in this situation, it's his ability. Remember, after the modal verbs, so we have modal verbs, can, could, may, might, should, ought to, must. And the rule, after the modal verb, we have the infinitive. Remember, infinitive, to go, to eat. But after modal, we eliminate to. Okay, so the correct structure is might go, may have, could have. Incorrect, might to go, may to have, because it's necessary to eliminate to. And here's a perfect example. We have two verbs, can plus to let, but because it's a modal, we need to eliminate to. Okay. Let out is again very common, typical for the dog. It's literal, so the dog is in the house and the dog wants to go out, so you let the dog out, you permit or you allow the dog out, let out. But in relation to when you are very happy, so for example, it's a situation, very nervous, very dangerous situation, and you're very scared or frightened. So two vocabulary that is very important, scared or frightened, and very scared, and then eventually everything is okay. So finally everything is okay and you can go, whew. So you can breathe and you let out some air. Okay, and that's one example. So you let out, the typical expression, a sigh of relief. Very difficult vocabulary. To let out a sigh of relief. So remember, the verb is to relieve. Okay, very, very important. Similar to alleviate, and in Espanol, aliviar. The noun is relief. So the verb has the V, but the noun has the F, to relieve. Okay, and to let out is to release. So, and then the noun is a sigh. Okay, it is also possible, the verb to sigh. So typically when you are not happy and you make this action, that's a sigh. Okay, and the specific translation here is in the dictionary, and I'll just make it clear for everybody. A sigh, because it's very specific vocabulary, and here you can see in the other languages on the left if it just translates. So one moment. Yeah, I think that's the translation. So French, German, other languages there as well, and in Spanish and Portuguese, suspirar. So it's related to respirar, to breathe. Okay, and here the example is like release or liberate, and they use the example of the prison. So they say, I am happy my brother was let out of prison early. But this is an example of the passive. So remember the difference between the active and the passive. So I let the dog out, that's the active, subject, verb and object. But to create the passive, we change the position and you put the object first, introduce the extra verb to be, the participle of the original verb, and then the subject. So I let the dog out changes to the dog was let out by me, and that's just one example of the active and the passive. Okay, and similar to the tailor in relation to the clothes. So to let down is to make something long, and then to let out is typical with the clothes as well. So for example, the shirt is very tight, so you need to let out the shirt. And here's the example. I need, so it's obligation, the same as must or have to. I need or have to let out this skirt. In Spanish it's falda, because I have gained weight. Okay, and remember the verb is to gain, and it's typical respect. You can gain trust, or you can gain a reputation. Okay, so these are typical vocabulary in relation to gain. And it's also typical with weight. So you can gain weight. Okay, so weight is the noun, but you need to be clear the verb is to weigh. So there's a big difference here. And I'll just open the chat now for one moment. Deliver before. Can you explain me this meaning? Okay, no problem yet. So first, I just want to show you the difference. The weight with the T is the noun. Okay. So it's typical to gain weight, and the opposite is to lose weight. And then finally the verb is just to weigh with no T. Okay, so it's typical to gain weight and it's typical to lose weight. But there is a synonym in relation to gain. We have a phrasal verb, we say to put on weight. Okay, so of course you put on your jacket, you put on your clothes, but in relation to weight you can put on weight as well. Okay, the question. You used the verb deliver before. Can you explain me this meaning, to deliver a task? I cannot remember the example, to deliver a task, but no, I don't remember the example that I used. If you want to explain again my example, that would be perfect. But deliver, to deliver a task, maybe it was in relation to school, that you leave out. Yes, that was the example. So you submit your work in school, you send or you submit, and finally you remember, you forget one thing, so you left out. So to omit, the phrasal verb was to leave out or to omit, and it's almost like to forget. Okay, maybe that was the example, to deliver your project. So that's one example here. Now the final example with let is very typical, and its translation here is weaken in intensity. So it's a difficult word. The verb is to weaken, and remember that the adjective is weak. Okay, it's the opposite for strong. If something's very strong, for example, your coffee is very strong, and the opposite is weak. But the verb is the en, to weaken. You remember the previous suffixes that we had. The verb is typically en, and in intensity. Okay, and here's one example. I told her no. So remember tell and say. So the difference between say and tell. So typically say to you, say to me, but to tell you, that's the big difference here. So say, it's typical say to, and tell, we eliminate to, and the past is told. Okay, so I told her no 1,000 times, but she won't let up. So the significance here, she won't stop. So to let up is like to stop or to reduce the intensity or the velocity. Okay, so that's a good example of the phrasal verbs, and we will continue every day with the phrasal verb list and the prepositions, and also maybe an analysis of an article, and hopefully this will help a little. And now it's a good opportunity, if you have a question and you want to participate, you can join the conversation, and the meeting code is here, so you are welcome to join and to participate in the conversation, and that's a possibility on Zoom. Remember, today we have a specific grammar class at 4 o'clock, so there's a specific grammar webinar at 4 o'clock today on Zoom, and you can contact me if you want to register your position and register your place. We will focus on a specific topic of grammar every week, and we have exercises that we do every week in relation to the topic. So maybe you want to improve your grammar specifically, and this is a good option for this webinar. It's at 4 o'clock. There's a small fee of €2.90 that you can contact me and pay by different possibilities, and PayPal, bank, or Revolut, and it's approximately 1 hour, and I can give you the codes for the Zoom meeting. Remember, everything today is free. It's a very good opportunity for me to help and to teach, especially during the pandemic and the difficult times. But if you can help me, that would be great as well. With a small donation of maybe €1 or €2, that would be a really big help for me, and hopefully it would allow me to continue working in this way, to give the free classes. There's a possibility with Bizum in Spain, or you can use the application Revolut, or at the bottom you have the transfer details for the bank, or on the right you have the details for PayPal. So they are all the options if you want to make a small donation or a small contribution to support me. It will be very good. And remember, the webinar is today at 4 o'clock. And finally, on social media, you can connect on Instagram. I have the Instagram page, Twitter, and YouTube has the same content as the Facebook page. So the Instagram page is @migliora_inglés, Twitter is @migliora1, and you can find the YouTube channel with @migliora_inglés and English classes. That should help. Okay, so if you want to, anybody in the group wants to participate, you're welcome. Just raise your hand or make a comment and I can connect with you. It could be a good opportunity to practice some speaking, and if you do not, no problem, we can finish the class, and that was a very good class for this morning. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. I hope that you have a good Monday and you enjoy the rest of the week, and hopefully I will see you later today at 4 p.m. and also tomorrow morning in the free class is another possibility. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day and talk to you soon. Bye bye.